Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
Welcome back to the Bible for Busy People. I'm Jen, and my toddler has a game that's all about emotions, like being able to name them and recognize them. It's wonderful, actually. It helps to be clear about our feelings while also avoiding shame for them. In it, you have to give examples of things that bring up feelings of sadness, anger, happiness, or calm, or fear. So for calm, I will say, I like reading or taking a walk. Those things help me feel calm. For sadness, I'll say when I feel lonely. But when it comes to fear, I have a really hard time because I don't want to pass on fears that my toddler hasn't even thought of yet. I don't want to solidify something as a fear that wasn't before, even though normally I would say spiders or crime or something that would harm my family. Those are generally things that I would say scare me. Instead, we usually say loud noises, which works for now. Fear is a real emotion, and it's not a bad emotion. There's no such thing. It alerts us when something is wrong and we need to be prompted to respond in some way. For us, it usually involves something we can't predict or control. And by us, I mean all human beings. And that's where God comes in. This week, we are talking about good questions that Jesus asked. And he asked a lot of them. He asked over 300. Today, we're reading in Matthew 8, starting in verse 23. It says, "Then he got into the boat and his disciples followed him. Suddenly, a furious storm came up on the lake so that the waves swept over the boat. But Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke him, saying, 'Lord, save us, we're going to drown.' He replied, 'You of little faith, why are you so afraid?' Then he got up and rebuked the wind and the waves, and it was completely calm. The men were amazed and asked, 'What kind of man is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him.'" Vicious storms were common on the Sea of Galilee. It is 680 feet below sea level, surrounded by hills and mountains beyond that, and the changes of temperature and pressure can cause violent storms. Plus, the sea is shallow, which will whip up bigger waves. Jesus slept, even through the wild storm. I don't know if that speaks more to how tired he was or just how secure he was in his own safety and control of the situation. I don't think I really grasped that he speaks to the disciples before tackling the weather. Charles Spurgeon said he spoke to the men first, for they were the most difficult to deal with. Wind and sea could be rebuked afterwards. I found that pretty funny. Matthew Henry said he does not chide them for disturbing him with their prayers, but for disturbing themselves with their fears. Both these quotes were found through the Enduring Word commentary. Now, we've talked about this before, but the Greek word for anxious is merimnao, which literally means divided and being pulled apart in different directions. The Bible is not telling us to believe more or believe better, but rather to rest our hopes fully on God, having that quiet knowing that God has it under control and not to be divided. Also, the word used for amazed in verse 27 has sometimes been translated as terrified, but the Greek word is thaumazo, which means admire, wonder, or marvel. In the presence of Jesus, their fear transformed into wonder. Another miracle on water and a similar question happens in Matthew 14. In verse 22, it says, "Immediately Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. 'It's a ghost,' they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, 'Take courage. It is I. Don't be afraid.' 'Lord, if it's you,' Peter replied, 'tell me to come to you on the water.' 'Come,' he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, 'Lord, save me.' Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. 'You of little faith,' he said, 'why did you doubt?' And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." This is just after the multiplying of loaves and fishes. At this point, Jesus didn't stick around to get more famous. He dismissed the crowds and sent the disciples ahead. And then he went to pray by himself. It seems like he was setting up the moment. Jesus sent them out into the storm, as Carla Works points out in the Working Preacher commentary. She also notes that Jesus wasn't there to wake up this time, and they were out there probably for hours in the storm. Jesus approached them walking on water and then let them know it was really him. This would have been a striking moment for the disciples to realize once again who Jesus really is, that he is not just another human being. Jesus proved himself again by allowing Peter to come out on the water too, and also not allowing him to sink. "Why did you doubt?" Jesus asked. I don't take this as condemning. Romans 8 verse 1 says there is no condemnation in Christ Jesus, but rather, again, as a gentle reminder of who Jesus is and what he is capable of. I love the point Works makes at the end of the commentary. She says, in Matthew's gospel, this story is meant to reveal who Jesus is. But that revelation is only possible in the midst of the chaos. If Jesus had not forced the disciples to embark on this uncertain journey, they would have missed the opportunity to see God revealed in their midst. So what storms is Jesus walking you through? And how do those storms and his response to them reveal who he is? I'll leave you with that, and we'll talk again tomorrow. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm going to assume two things about you. First of all, that you're a busy person, and second, that you are in need of a restful break. Cannon Beach Conference Center is the place for a beautiful coastal retreat. Whether it's one of their enriching conferences or your own church or ministry event, you can find out more at 800-745-1546 or visit cbcc.net. Thank you to Cannon Beach Conference Center for sponsoring the Bible for Busy People.
Thank you for listening to The Bible for Busy People. If you need prayer or want to go deeper in your faith, visit our show notes. Will you take a moment to share with a friend and leave a review? It helps the Bible get into even more people's minds and hearts. Find more podcasts that will recharge you at purposely.com.